Joining us now for World Brief and the review of some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Vimbai Mutinhiri Ekpenyong. Niger wife, good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Abati. Good morning. I'm great, thank you. Good morning, Ayo. Morning, Rufai. I'm going to shoot straight into it so that we can have enough time to get into conversation, especially on our Nigerian papers, which are leading with the cabinet reshuffle. But however, we kick off with the World Brief today in the United States as the Democrat candidate Kamala Harris has said that she believes her opponent, Donald Trump, is a fascist at a CNN town hall in Pennsylvania to an audience of 30 undecided voters. It comes after she warned that Trump wants unchecked power while addressing comments that his former chief of staff, John Kelly, made about him being dictatorial. Well, Harris also touched on legalizing abortion nationwide, equal treatment for Israelis and Palestinians, as well as increasing wealth tax. But was her performance convincing enough to close the deal?
You've quoted General Milley calling Donald Trump a fascist. You yourself have not used that word to describe him. Let me ask you tonight, do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
On the other side of the campaign fence, Trump slammed the vice president's economic policies, calling Harris the tax queen at a rally in Georgia.
Upon taking the oath of office, I will launch the largest deportation program in American history. With your vote in this election, I will end inflation, I will stop the invasion of criminals into our country, and I will bring back the American dream. I'm going to bring it back very quickly.
All right. He also responded to the fascist comments via his Truth Social platform by accusing Harris, who he referred to as comrade, of increasingly raising her rhetoric. Well, elsewhere, the Justice Department has sent a letter to Elon Musk's campaign group, America PAC, to warn that its $1 million giveaway could be illegal. With less than 2 weeks to go, Trump and Harris remain very close in the polls. Well, let's turn our attention to a different part of the world where at least 5 people have been killed and 22 others wounded in an attack on the headquarters of Turkey's aerospace and defense company, Turkish Aerospace Industries, near the capital, Ankara. Now, according to Turkish Interior Minister Ali Yerlikaya, 2 terrorists were neutralized. The attack took place while President Recep Tayyip Erdogan was holding talks with his counterpart Vladimir Putin at the 16th BRICS summit. Turkey is the only member of NATO in attendance at the summit in Russia, and while no one has claimed responsibility for the attack, the Interior Minister alluded to the style being reminiscent of terrorist group PKK. So Turkey has since retaliated by attacking PKK forces in Syria and Iraq late Wednesday night. And to some African affairs, survivors of the 1994 Rwandan genocide are taking the stand in Paris, where a former doctor is on trial for his alleged role in the mass killings of more than 800,000 minority Tutsis and moderate Hutus who tried to protect them. The accused is Eugène Ramukyo, who's a 65-year-old former doctor and is charged with genocide, complicity, crimes against humanity, and conspiring to prepare those crimes. He has denied any wrongdoing. However, several witnesses traveled to Paris and gave graphic descriptions of the killings. For example, on Monday, Immaculée Makumpanga described attacks on Tutsi civilians who gathered, and she said that they attacked us using the same method. First, the machete on the top of the head, then the throat, then the ankles. The defendant, who is Dr. Ramukyo, is accused of spreading anti-Tutsi propaganda and supervising operations to bury victims in mass graves. The former doctor said his role in mass grave burials was motivated only by hygiene-related considerations, and he denied that he buried any survivors alive. Well, if found guilty in that trial that started this month and is scheduled to end next month, Ramukyo is facing life in prison. Those are some of our international stories for today.
I mean, Vimbai, Kamala is apt when she says he's a fascist, and Trump is a fascist. What's the origin of the word Benito Mussolini with the fascist movement? When Trump speaks, it feels like something from the Khmer Rouge region, regime. That's what it feels like. It feels like somebody from the dirty wars in Argentina, where you had military taking over the government in Argentina. That's what it speaks. I mean, who a Democrat is saying, and the Democratic government is supposed to be the freest nation in the world, is saying that they're going to have mass deportations. You're calling Democratic opponents your enemies from within. And you want the state to go out there and fight them. And this is you that you've been impeached twice. You have no atom of any democratic conduct in you, no grain. All you just have is mass support, which very well, obviously, slanted towards a certain ideology. They want America back, very nativist ideology in a very cosmopolitan world. So it doesn't get any better than that. Trump speaks sometimes, it feels like Goebbels speaking. It's just like a very, he's not as smart as Goebbels anyway, so a very dumb form of Goebbels speaking anyway. And that's what it is to me. As regards the Turkish terror, it was a terrorist attack, a very sad one at that. 2 shooters were there, active shooters. Over 22 people were killed. It was an aerospace institution in Turkey where, interestingly, Turkey has started making their own supersonic jets. It's called the Khan stealth jets. They started the operation in 2011, and the place was attacked. The Turkish people are saying this is the PKK. It might be a replica of the PKK. They've gone ahead to attack the PKK and things like that. There's some footage that has been coming out. Also, a taxi driver was killed in all of this and chucked in the boot of his car. It's a very sad one. And this is going on vis-a-vis Turkey making very strong showing at BRICS, summit out there in Kazan in Russia.
All right, so Rwandan genocide, this is what happens when you don't forget history. Yeah. And a people ensure that part of reconciliation, forgiveness, closure is justice. And so 30 years after, people who played roles in propagating the killing of about 800,000 Tutsis by the Hutus in Rwanda in 1994, 30 years ago, are still brought to the book. It's not just Dr. Ambukia who is under trial. Only in August at the United Nations in Hague, another doctor, Felicia Kabuga, was also under trial for the role she played by propagating the rhetoric on radio and not stopping it and making it worse. And so these are some of the things we talk about, even from the Nigerian context. Only a few days back, we were talking about the civil war and how the reason why we still keep talking about it and it seems like the wound is still fresh is that there's no justice yet. Some people haven't yet been brought to book. And so people still feel cheated, still feel like, so it's not just about saying, oh, let's move on, you've forgiven everything. Some people need to face the law and face justice in order for people to actually finally find closure. So I really commend what's happening, whether it's in France, whether it's in The Hague, whether it's in Rwanda, where they are making conscious effort not to erase history, but to acknowledge history and to make some form of restitution. It augurs well for the movement and moving forward of the people who have been wronged. With Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, I feel like the gloves are coming off as we approach election day on the 5th of November.
So much for the joy campaign.
Yeah, so Kamala Harris was a bit more, just didn't say a few words, said she wouldn't go down, if they go low, we go high. She's going low alongside with him. So I still expect more drama, more, name calling and descriptions. I mean, maybe this isn't a name calling because she's describing whom she feels. One of the biggest news or perhaps attacks on Donald Trump is his former chief of staff, John Kelly, who said that it would be dangerous for him to get back into the White House because he has no understanding of the Constitution, and whilst he was president and when he served with him, he doesn't have the capacity to be president of the United States of America again. But Donald Trump doesn't seem to be fazed. He's still going ahead and speaking and still going on his campaign trail. So, it would get more interesting. But let's hope that they'll still keep it civil and they'll keep the main thing in terms of the issues. So,
okay, very quickly. Let me start first with Rwanda, one of the saddest moments in, international law with regard to crimes against humanity, the genocide of 1994. And this, if you go to the Rwanda Memorial in Kigali, the extent of that evil against humanity is written large. In 1994, the United Nations Security Council, through UN Security Council Resolution 955, set up the International Criminal Tribunal on Rwanda. We started sitting in Arusha, Tanzania, and was operative from that about 1995 to 2015. It indicted 96 people, convicted 61 persons, acquitted 24 persons, referred 10 other cases to national jurisdictions. So this is the background to this case involving this doctor from Rwanda, who used actually to be a teacher at the National University Faculty of Health in Rwanda, in a place called Huye region. Back in his country, he has been sentenced already to imprisonment for life. But in 20, he went to attend a funeral in France, and he got arrested because he was said that he had worked with Kabanda and Akabuye, Jean-Paul Akabuye, two persons who had been indicted by the International Tribunal. He says he's innocent. He says he didn't bury anybody alive. He says he was involved in providing hygienic conditions, but he's considered an anti-Tutsi person. But this is not something that Rwanda likes to be reminded of, even if there is that Rwanda memorial. How ethnic rivalry, disunity, can result in tragedy. Quickly, as for the PKK incident at TUSAS, the place is called TUSAS, the Turkish aerospace agency, which is a part of the Ministry of Defense. Now, the Minister of Defense and the Interior Minister are both saying that this is the handiwork of the Kurdish Workers' Party, the PKK, as it is otherwise known, but they say they are still investigating. The PKK has not taken responsibility. First incident in a very long time, at a time when, the Turkish government is trying to make peace with the PKK. Of course, there was retaliation. Immediately yesterday, Kurdish locations were attacked in Syria and in parts of Iraq. Although the Kurdish Social Democratic movement, says, no, we are not the ones behind this. Why are you attacking us and all of that? But, there's a difference between that social democratic movement and also the PKK in the eyes of the US, for example. But generally, the PKK is considered a terrorist organization by Turkey, by the US, and also by the European Union. We hope that this will not be a reenactment of hostilities. Yeah. We started in the 1970s with the Turkish, with the Kurdistan, first saying they wanted autonomy. They wanted an independent state. Now they say they want autonomy, and their rights respected within the Turkish state. So this is all part of global politics.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's good you brought it up.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for that incredible analysis. Now, of course, let's bring the conversation home to the story of the day. We'll begin our newspaper review with This Day newspaper, as we do. So the lead on This Day newspaper, of course, Tinubu discharges Adejon Ohaneye Mamam Gwarzo Ibrahim in cabinet shakeup. Beneath that, however, is an interesting article that says the curious case of Ondo, Imo, and Abia, who also belong to the Southeast Development Commission and Southwest Development Commission and will enjoy dual benefits. This article echoes the sentiments of PANDEF founder Pa Edwin Clark. Now, if you look at Daily Trust, New Telegraph, Punch, Vanguard, Guardian, they are all leading with news of President Tinubu relieving the 5 ministers of their duties whilst hiring 7 and reassigning 10 ministers. However, we'll go to Punch newspaper now, whose take on the reshuffle is that the organized private sector and opposition are split as private sector backs the reshuffle and CSOs demand sacking of more underperforming ministers, with some in the opposition calling the reshuffle a mere distraction and a sideshow from the real issues. Let's go to the Daily Sun newspaper now. Which again is focusing on the reshuffle. Apart from the reshuffle, though, there's a conversation around the president's chief security officer. So the president's chief security officer, following news earlier in the week that he had been replaced with a new officer. However, the report details how there is pressure for Adeboyega Fasasi to be retained. Apparently, those in powerful places who feel their access to the president depends on Fasasi have mounted intense pressure, which is quite interesting because that's a similar conversation we heard before the cabinet reshuffle about how people were mounting pressure on the president to ensure that their candidates, so to speak, were protected in the reshuffle. Anyway, let's go to the Vanguard newspaper. Of course, leading again with that reshuffle news, however, features a report about how the reps are mulling an increase in the derivation fund from the current not less than 13% to not less than 50% to ensure the development of all Nigerian states and regions where mineral resources are being extracted. Now to Daily Trust. Of course, the news of the day is the reshuffle. However, another story there is the developing story in the telco sector concerning the back and forth regarding tariff hikes. Of course, this is amidst tariff hike demand. Consumers are decrying fast data depletion, poor connectivity. The CEO of MTN is reported as having said that without a tariff hike, MTN will surely shut down. Very quickly to African papers, to the Citizen South Africa, which is focusing on all that's happening at the BRICS summit. Putin is your friend, not mine, says the opposition leader, John Steenhuisen, who is reiterating that although they're in a government of national unity in South Africa, his party, the Democratic Alliance, does not support Russia, nor do they support President Putin. To Kenya, Daily Nation, standoff. This saga continues with the Deputy President Gachagua, who lost his bid in court yesterday, but he's not backing down. I believe his legal team are coming up with more technicalities to challenge his and delay the confirmation of his impeachment. International stories, the Daily Telegraph. Starmer's top aides drawn into Trump row over claims that the Labour Party contravened U.S. electoral law by advising Kamala Harris's campaign in what the Trump campaign is calling foreign interference. Very big story that took place yesterday and continues to develop. We round up with the Hindu in Nigeria, which tackles the BRICS summit and said BRICS should strengthen financial integration. Those were the sentiments at the summit yesterday, as there was a focus on the conversation around a new global financial system. And President Putin was also presented with a mock note from the upcoming BRICS currency. You can see it there. Guess what? On the backside of this currency, there is a Nigerian flag. There's a Zimbabwean flag as well on the backside of this note. All right. So much.
So much. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously they want to challenge the dollar. It's not going to happen anytime soon. But, you know, you can see some solidarity in the BRICS nation themselves. India has fixed their problems with China, you know, a couple of other nations coming in the fray, and they welcomed a couple of new nations yesterday. As regards the internal things going on in Aso Rock, in fact, a minister is said to have bragged that he will ensure that Fasasi is kept there. So it shows you the politicking of the CSO. An order was made that has not been executed. A minister is said to have bragged that the man has been kept there. And now you are getting the story today about how people are saying, oh, that's their meal ticket, that's their channel to go to see the president. So it speaks volumes as regards other things in Aso Rock and all of that.
Well, I'll just say one statement. I don't know why a number of people are saying that the new Minister of Women Affairs is male. She's female. She's immediate past Minister of State for Police Affairs, Iman Suleiman, and we already talked about her earlier, how while she was in that position, she showed up in some places, and we're looking forward to her really running a ministry that accounts for half of Nigeria's population and really pushing more representation of women in politics and protection of, I think, also issues that have to do with children, young people as well, particularly children come under that ministry. So really seeing advocacy in that regard. But again, all eyes on the new ministers. We want performance, and let's hope that this time, when they're evaluated, we won't take that long to have to reshuffle if we see people or find ministers who are not performing or who are underperforming.
Okay, still staying with international news. The Kamala Harris town hall meeting organized by CNN, choice of location, strategic, Pennsylvania, you know, addressing undecided voters. She said basically more or less the same things she's been saying. You know, she will focus on change. She's not a repetition of Biden. Trump is a fascist. She has no ideas about Medicare, about social services and all of that. You know, trying to see if she could shift to the center, to the middle. In fact, some of the voters yesterday were saying it's like she's moved to the middle. But the big story is President Trump, his lawyer, the deputy campaign lawyer, going to the Federal Electoral Commission to accuse the Labour Party, the British Labour Party, of anti-American foreign interference in American elections. You recall that the Labour Party attended the Democratic National Convention. Particularly Mark Sweeney, who is now Chief of Staff, was there. Matthew Boyle was there. Lehal, the Chief Operating Officer of the Labour Party in England, was also there. They sent 100 persons to go and help Kamala Harris in the swing states. So now the Republicans have petitioned the election watchdog, to say that Britain is interfering. But, the British are saying, well, we are using our money. Labour Party is using their money not to interfere. But in other words, what Trump is doing is that whatever mud he can throw, he will throw at Kamala Harris, hoping that it will stick.
This is a very African-American election.
Nigel Farage of the Reform Party helping Trump. Is Trump delusional?
Well, but there is a law in the US, the electoral law, forbids foreign interference. Would they be able to prove this interference or not? That remains to be seen.
Well, thank you very much, Bimbai. Always great to have you in the studio with us.